beautiful knowledge about this ancient scriptures. So I would love to hear from Madhvi Narsale about these two dignitaries, and then we'll go ahead with the lecture series. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, sir. So we have with us Dr. Himanshu Asani ji, who is an author, researcher, and translator. He held full-time faculty appointment in the School of Technology and Computer Science at the TIFR Mumbai, and has visiting appointments at the University of Washington, Seattle, and Stanford University and IIT Bombay. His research interests there included artificial intelligence, machine learning, information theory, and statistics. He has received his BTech from IIT Bombay, and it will be very nice to hear that in IIT JEE mains, his All India rank was 4th, and IIT JEE screening All India rank was 1st. And besides that, he has his MS and PhD degree from Stanford University. After his post-graduation, he worked in corporate America, following which he got involved in some of his educational startups, which especially focused on fostering education in underprivileged areas with minimal access to English, internet, and electricity. His awards include Stanford Graduate Fellowship, Marconi Society, Paul Baron Young Scholar Award, Amazon Catalyst Fellowship, and bronze medalist in the International Chemistry Olympiad. He is currently actively involved in areas of philosophy, social psychology, and history, sharing the profound wisdom with community, corporate, and university audiences. He is also involved in English and vernacular translation of ancient Sanskrit wisdom texts. So, on behalf of the Center for Hindu Studies, I welcome you and I thank you also for taking out time to deliver this lecture in this period of chat GPT, where we can see that the entire world has become unstable. We don't know how many jobs are going to remain, and how are our young generation going to proceed with their activities. So in this situation, such a lecture by Professor Himanshu Asani ji is very important. We also have with us Rasik Raman, who is a monk, author, and life coach. Being a gold medalist in engineering and an MTech from IIT Bombay, with rich experience as a monk and life coach, he brings to the table a unique blend of new age scientific temper and age-old traditional wisdom. So it is an amalgamation of new and old. So just as Kalidas was saying that Puranam ityevana sadhu sarvam. So whatever is old is not always gold, but we have to connect ourselves with the old, which are our roots, and that sacred task has been done by Shri Rasik Raman Das ji. He has played a pivotal role in developing the Bhakti Vedanta Research Center, which is a center for studies in philosophy, formerly affiliated to Mumbai University, and it is also affiliated now with the Department of Sanskrit. He is the founder director of InPlus Academy.
I am requesting others to please mute themselves so that we can hear.
So he is a professor at Dr. Vivek Bindra's Bada Business. He also conducts leadership and life skill workshop for students and working professionals. So this reflects in his newly released book, Be Smarter You, Your App Store for Success and Happiness, which has been published by Simon & Schuster's company. In this book, you will find 14 life apps such as Life Compass, Self-Discovery, Habit Reprogramming, etc. So not taking much time between the audience and the speakers, I request Professor Himanshu Asani ji to begin his address.
Okay. I'm so grateful, Ravikant ji and Madhvi ji. I think we have met before, and it's so nice that on Akshaya Tritiya, on the eve of Akshaya Tritiya in some states, आपने हमें आमंत्रित किया. और रसिक जी और हम तो IIT में एक साथ we crossed our path, and now our paths keep crossing. जब मैं TIFR में था तो I was stone throw distance away from where Rasik ji stays. Yeah.
Yeah. And we would love the path to cross and Mumbai University also to crisscross with us.
That's nice. Yeah. So we are very grateful. Actually, ये topic बहुत important है. It's very important. Artificial intelligence, emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence, and how can it be the doubts, apprehensions around it can be cleared. Whether we'll be able to do it completely in 1 hour, we don't know. But at least we'll ask some right questions. We'll inspire you to think and consider some different angle. And that's why you see a professor and a monk sitting together.
Interesting combination for artificial intelligence and emotional intelligence.
Okay. So we will speak, we'll try to also, in order to make it interesting and not a monologue, we will try to converse also with each other and explain our points. And maybe we'll go for what, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, and then open for question. Is that okay, Madhviji? Okay. Okay. So
yeah, well, let me take the lead first.
Okay.
So it has been so nice, Dr. Himanshu, to meet up again. Of course, with friends from your alma mater, it's always great to meet them back and also see that you are in the similar streams of fields of work. So there's a lot to share also. So I was also excited about this meeting and see how we can bring about a blend of traditional wisdom and scientific temper as I feel I want to work in. So here is for the dummies. If you were to explain artificial intelligence for dummies like me, see, I definitely studied mathematical modeling at my operations research MTech,
okay.
But still, I'm out of touch a bit. So you can consider me as a dummy and just give a bit into AI.
Okay. Thank you. I think you're not a dummy, but still, just for the sake of everyone and just so that we are a bit grounded in this topic, you're asking this question, I'll be happy to share. So it's not that AI or artificial intelligence is something new. At least in movies and novels, people have always been after it. We can remember even before 2000, there was a movie called A.I. Artificial Intelligence. Then there was I, Robot. And those who are fans of Rajnikant will know there was Endiran film series. The Endiran comes and then there's a Chitti and the Kutti and Pakshi Rajan, all these different robots are there. And they also try to engage with the similar questions. So movies and novels have been tackling with it. What about science? See, earlier we used to have very simple systems like neural networks, sort of designed based on our gray cells. Not exactly, but some systems. And what these systems would do, a data will be fed to it. So it's like input is a data. And what's the output? Some new thing, some prediction, some association, etc. But these were so slow that people would not even use them. Fast forward 2012, computer processing units become graphical processing units, GPUs. And then these algorithms start showing their value. And hence we can say that it's only after 2010 that the real artificial intelligence systems, or also called machine learning systems, we are making machines to learn, were born. So it's not only thanks to the algorithms, it's also thanks to the processing units, to the big giant processing units, which are crunching data. What all they can do automation, they can predict, they can generate, so on and so forth.
Predict in the sense meteorological
yes,
data.
Yes. For example, we can take example of COVID, right? Some of my colleagues were involved in, it was a huge team of TIFR and IISc scientists My dean was also involved there, and they've developed COVID-19 sort of trends is not the right word here, but the curve prediction, how much would be infected and how many would be recovering. Basically, now it almost appears that it was 100 years ago. Our memories kind of get renewed so fast. But at that time, I think everybody was looking after peaks, isn't it? Like how fast it is going, how, like that. So trying to model that, and it was a simple modeling. There was no AI in it. But what if the modeling becomes super complex, super predictive power? And that's only one. There is something called generative power. So some of you for online, you can search for, we know that page, right?
This person does not exist.
This person does not exist.com. Just click on it. Every time you reload the page, a high definition image of a person comes who is not on the planet. So basically, they have been giving celebrity images. The system takes the celebrity images, learns the contours, and in Hindi and Marathi, as we say, right, naak nakshe. They learn the naak naksha of the people, their smiles, their ears, and will generate a high definition image of a person who does not exist on the planet. So this is the generative ability. So now already you can see, we can use generation for fashion clothes, we can use generation for medicines, we can use generation for images, we can use generation for videos. I mean, we can literally generate video of Narendra Modi speaking something else, but it will appear that he is speaking because what he has done, what they have done, they have generated by learning Narendra Modi's. Oh, you're showing that?
So you mean to say this person does not exist?
This person does not exist.
So for a layman, how does AI exactly do it? Like, does it pick up someone's eyes, someone's ears, and mashes it all together?
No, it's a little bit more complicated. I can explain in a layman thing. Suppose you have a whole terrain. This is the whole terrain of images. So they put all the images in this topographical terrain like this, right? So some images there, some images there, some images there, some images there, right? These are real images. So then they connect all of them and pick a point in the middle. That's this image. So it's the smooth transition from one image to another.
Okay.
So if you can also go to YouTube and see a video how they do it. So you'll see how, ears are changing and the eyes are changing and then voila, such image comes.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's just the masking. A lot of work, I guess, is also more to be done in terms of producing humanoids and other.
Exactly, like Chitti and Kutti. So then the natural question I think we were discussing before also comes. What is good, bad, and ugly, right? What is good here? Well, good is the predictive power. And good is like if personalized medicine becomes a reality, then they can learn our heartbeat situations and our pulse rate, how cells are performing in our body. They may have certain celluloid robots, whatever, and they can monitor people's health really nicely and tell the doctor, okay, looks like a blockage is increasing from 50% to 55%. Do something about it. That's good. Predictability is good. And Madhviji was saying, right, people are worried that jobs are going. Yeah, that's a little unfortunate situation, but I will not also paint it very, very bleakly or very sort of too optimistic also. AI will stay there for 20, 30 years. Mm-hmm. It will not go away because the promises it has shown. And certainly our understanding will help our careers only. Wherever we go, we have to understand AI because it will infiltrate the markets. That's a good part. Mm-hmm. The bad part is people use ChatGPT to answer their question papers. And I think
even the students also are using for answering their exam papers. I recently heard an article where ChatGPT was tested to answer a medical entrance exam, and it scored amongst the toppers. It's scored really well.
It scored really
And then when it was given the JEE exam paper,
well.
it really failed.
Okay, that makes me proud.
So they are still not on that level, but
Okay.
maybe can be.
It can, and it's bad because as we were discussing, right? We are then now just parking our intelligence somewhere and using a machine, and then it will be like use it or you lose it. I mean, what will happen to our gray cells, right? We don't use some of our muscles; it gets atrophied. And that gland is there, right? Vestigial gland, appendix, it's not used, so it becomes infected so often, and then people remove it. So lose it. As it's the same for our tradition, right? If we'll not use our ancient wisdom texts, somebody else will claim them and we lose it. So that's, I think, the bad part. But I am worried about the.
I'm just tempted to say that,
please.
20 years back, we would very easily remember a lot of phone
numbers.
Now it seems such a difficult task to remember even one number, right? And so we are very rightly said that
Our memories will.
If you use it, you lose it.
Exactly. That's like muscles, right? The atrophy of the muscles happen because we are not using it. So the atrophy of our gray cells also may end up happening. So that's a bad part.
Actually, previously when they used to say that you should memorize by heart. So memorize it so well that even like when you wake up from sleep, you can tell it. Memorize by heart. It should enter your heart. Now the new slogan is knowledge at your fingertips. So knowledge remains at the fingertips because Google has everything covered for me. So I don't need to learn any recipe. I don't need to learn any navigation path. I don't need to learn any formulas because if Google can store it for me, why do I need to? But the backside of it is that my memory, the ability to remember all of those things also gets lost.
Well said, well said. Or आप यहाँ पे तो Madhvi ji and other people who are also into Sanskrit जानेंगे कि हमारे एक शब्द होता है कंठस्थ, कंठ में स्थित. इनफैक्ट वो कंठ में इसलिए स्थित करना बोलते थे, फिर उसके ऊपर इसे ऊपर ले जाया जा सकता है for analysis, or it could be taken in heart for tasting. But who does kanthastha thing today? Now it is all Google astha or phone astha. So that, but still, Rasik, it is, in my understanding, the bad part. The ugly part is when AI would be used for sinister, would be used for political, would be used for just purposes which we do not want. Like I was doing research in detecting biases in AI systems. To give you an example of a bias, suppose, and this has happened to systems, suppose we have the image of an Indian lady dressed in her wedding attire, and there is an American lady dressed in wedding attire. Now, you ask an AI system to classify them. We would be shocked that very often, now, of course, they would have corrected the system, but at that time when this news came out that how there are biases, and bias क्यों नहीं होंगे in systems? Because data तो human beings ने दिया है, और human beings तो बहुत bias होते हैं. So the machines which are trained on data of humans will also be biased. So they tagged or classified the Indian lady dressed as bride as culture. Okay. And they tagged an American lady dressed as bride as bride. Okay. So you'll be shocked, wait, why this different classification? So maybe some bias exists. Now, this is a very simple bias I told. What about AI systems start doing racial bias, further gender bias, color bias, religion bias, so many biases, right? And then they will be utilized for voting and things like that.
Basically, whoever owns the technology can use it in the way they want to.
Well said, well said, well said. So they may train it on a data and say that, okay, everything is okay. You would be interesting. I think we talked about it. Maybe our participants would be interesting. A few days back, I was part of a mediation meeting where we had invited the Vice President of the Bar Association of India, JP Singh. You can Google. He was the first mediator in India. In India, mediation is still, like, acha hota hai kya? But with the new Chief Justice coming of Supreme Court, he has made the mantra mediate, not litigate. Because litigate, one simple case opens up 7 different cases. And they were telling, if no new cases comes to the Indian judicial system, can you guess the number of years it will take to resolve the cases which are pending? 100 years. If no new case comes. So that's the reason they are telling why all cases need to go to the litigation system, just mediate. Now, what if they start hiring robots for mediate and with a sinister sort of thing? I think that's the ugly. And what if the terrorists use it? Then they are already using it?
Would you really call that a mediator? Because a mediator should not have bias.
Yes. So that's where I think the question kind of comes. And that's my question to you. Because you are asking the question and looking the whole system from outside the box. And that's what spirituality provides us. So as a monastic person, as an author of self-help come spiritual book, which is here, by the way, I'm doing free advertising for you. So how do you view all these changes? Especially since we are talking from a spiritual center who is hosting.
So when this ChatGPT fad came in, and everyone was finding their answers, finding poetries on ChatGPT, one person asked me, "Don't you feel threatened in your faith, seeing that these godlike powers of ChatGPT, the way humans think, the same way this machine is now able to think? So don't you feel threatened in terms of your faith?" I told him, well, I feel my faith is vindicated by this.
Thappa lag
gaya. So my faith got strengthened. In fact, and I told him why. So
I'm very curious. Yeah, I'm curious how you turned the table.
Okay. So, what ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, machine learning is doing is basically creating human mimicry, like how my thinking process works. I'm trying to replicate that into the machine.
Okay.
Through logic, right? So now, if you let me bring in some Gita perspective.
Okay.
And where Krishna says, "Mamevamsho jiva loka jiva bhuta sanatana," that all the living beings are my amshas. So while we are working on creating a mirror image of ourselves through AI, who thinks the way we think, who acts the way we act, God says, Krishna says in the Gita, I have created all of these living beings who are like my mirror images, who are my amshas. And it's also supported in the Christian tradition, where there's a saying that man is created in the image of God. Right? So what God has done in terms of creating an image who acts like God. So we have we are created an image of God. So similarly, we are creating our own image through AI. So that's where I see that it's what is there in the creator, that also that desire is also there in the creation. So that's why we are drawing this from God. And if you just look at artificial intelligence, it's not something very unique which we have done as humans. If you look around carefully, nature has its own way of instituting natural intelligence, nature's IQ. It's called biomimicry.
Yes.
So nature has a lot of automation involved in every step of its creation.
That's a good one. I remember. Oh, by the way, sorry to interrupt. I think there's some waiting. We can admit them all.
Okay, so we have admitted.
Okay, great. So I think this is profound point, because I remember one of my colleagues from IIT Bombay. He joined University of California, Berkeley, and he was in a department there. They were trying to create biorobots which will mimic the locomotion of certain animals. They had a huge department, but they found it very tough. I think even to, little mimicry of a lizard or a chameleon, it was a hard time for them. Yeah. The modern science, I will have to take some time to read sci-fi movies and else. But I have a question, follow-up question. Great. So you say that the creator and the creation sort of looks similar to humans and the AI, right? In that way, there is this nice dichotomy you explained. But what about mimicking emotions? Or they use now emotional intelligence? We use that word also. What about that? I mean, can they? Because in many traditions, creator is considered to be a person, and then humans are a person. So there is a mimicking of those emotions. Also, many traditions say that. Certain part of Christianity does. Some traditions of Hinduism also do it. Certain Sufi traditions also do it. Okay, so now what about humans vis-a-vis machines? How would human put emotional intelligence machines? What is this EI? I spoke about AI, now you can.
Okay, so I'll take the cue from there.
Okay.
And emotional intelligence, I was reading this book by Daniel Goleman, who is considered leading, who has done breakthrough research in emotional intelligence.
Okay.
So he defines EI as having two components, interpersonal and intrapersonal.
Okay.
So intrapersonal is the ability to understand one's own emotions, to be aware of one's own emotions, what I'm going through. I'm going through a heartbreak, I'm feeling sullen, gloomy. Okay, that is my feeling. That's not me, it's my feeling.
Okay.
So you are being aware of your feelings, and you can look at your feelings as kind of taking them out and see, okay, these are the feelings. So there are different feeling cards. So being aware of your feelings and emotions and being able to regulate them in a constructive way.
That's emotion. One aspect of emotion.
The interpersonal.
Okay.
The interpersonal aspect is where you can understand the emotions of others, empathize with them, and then help them in that state. So that is interpersonal emotional intelligence. So that's something which EI.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I am aware of my emotions. That I am not the emotions. I am not the anger, but I'm aware I'm angry. And that other is pained. So I can, stand in somebody else's shoes and feel that pain. So that is emotional intelligence. Yeah, it takes intelligence to
and
do
just
that.
prompt here that in the beginning, Madhviji brought up this discussion that as AI is doing many of the roles which humans used to do, would we become redundant? Yeah. So here is the ray of light or hope for us. That's the way I look at it. Even Forbes magazine, they came up with an article which says that moving forward, jobs which are based on routine logic and reasoning, they may get affected by AI.
Yeah, box logic, input and output.
But those which are based on emotional intelligence, where you need to have all of these things, awareness of one's own emotions, basically resilience, where you need to have empathy, trust, kindness. So all of those places, especially leadership roles, is where you need to understand and influence others, understand others' feelings, emotions, needs, and then help others and take them along. So all of those areas are where humans are irreplaceable. At least that's the way I look at it.
I also tend to agree. And somebody can, catch me by hand and challenge me. But
let me do it for you.
Okay. Well, didn't you see how our Chitti Rajnikant he fell into love with Sanadi Aishwarya Rai, and he had feelings, and so maybe after some time, even the robots can be programmed sufficient fuzzy logic could be added, sufficient data could be added. I mean, now the size of earlier, the computer would be the size of the room. They would use punch cards. Then slowly now on the phone, right? We can do, they are releasing modules to do AI on the phone. So somebody can challenge that. But somehow, by the way, these are sci-fi movies. So what's the present situation? I think it will take time to reach over there. But still, this is my belief. And I believe this is a question for everybody of our audience also to consider, that do we in our gut believe that all the nuances of all different types of emotions, which oftentimes come on the fly, they are really new, can be programmed in a robot? And let me ask one more question, which you can ask the question to the robot itself. Suppose that robot comes. Okay. We can confront that robot and ask him or her, Chitti or Nila, can you replace my lover who is a human? Can you replace my real dog? Can a robot dog replace a real dog? Why? Because you have, I'm asking the question to that robot, because you don't know what it feels like to shed drops of blood, because you don't have blood. And you cannot feel like what it means to pass through an old age. It's one thing to program, but it's one thing to go through it. And the psychological trauma which it generates. What about death? I can just remove my batteries, but death is different from removing the batteries. So when we are talking about experiential aspect, which is so nuanced, so fine, somewhere in the gut, there is a feeling that humans cannot be replaced. And that kind of indicates the Forbes magazine aspect about it. And that also kind of re-questions our own understanding of love, friendship. That should we make our love, friendship, and the experience of life automatic or really experiential? Like how we go to a nature's beauty, instead of viewing that and enjoying that, we use the cell phones. Selfie. So later on, our robot will say, Baba, why are you going? Let me go instead of you. I'll click so many Vista pictures. You really don't need to go. And then do we manage our love in a checklist way? Then the person can be replaced with the robot, and the robot will say, well, I manage the checklist very well. In fact, I'll remind you if you forgot something in your checklist. So I think this kind of human...
That would be scary, because if a lover was to give a rose to his beloved on their birthday or some other day, the beloved would know, okay, this is programmed. This is not a spontaneous emotion. This is programmed, and therefore it's being done as a program. It's not out of love. The way we feel and experience love is spontaneous.
Yes, very well said. And I think that will bring me to ask you a question about the third dimension, which we kind of put in our talk.
Before we go into the third, I just my thought triggered from what you said. If you were to call Chitti here and not on the camera, but in person. But so if you call him here and you said, you ask him, do you know what it feels to be shedding blood or getting injured or dying? Because all of those phenomena are not part of their existence. So
unless they put a ketchup sauce in there as a blood.
So this reminds me of a paper by Thomas Nagel. So he wrote a paper, what would it feel like to be a bat?
Okay.
So it's a very interesting paper. Okay. What would it feel like to be a bat? So some of the questions which he asks in that paper, basically he presents that living beings, life forms, are categorically different from matter. Okay. So whatever material stuff that you see, wood, stone, chemicals, it's categorically different from matter. and he gives certain logics. He asks a question, and it's a question for all of us who are in the audience. Can you think of a parrot? Can you think of a parrot?
Yeah, they disturbed me a lot in TIFR.
Oh, Krishna.
I mean,
Okay.
nicely disturbed me, but that's okay.
Okay, so you are fortunate to see parrots.
Schools of parrots pecking at my window, like the net.
Most of Mumbai, they just see crows. So now, my next question is, you can think of a parrot, but can you feel what it would be like to be a parrot?
Somewhat, because I know they are living, I am living, so I can project my some
Say,
experience.
suppose there's some magical wand or something.
Which turns me into parrot.
Yeah, turns
but
me
I
into
hope
parrot.
it's a reversible wand.
Okay, let the boon be reversible.
Okay.
At your will. If you like to stay as a parrot, if life is better off as a parrot, you can remain there. So if I ask you, you are a parrot now.
Okay.
What does it feel like being a parrot?
Yes, well, you are little pesky and you go around and pecking people's, disturbing them, and then making some noise and mango season. Then you run after mangoes.
Okay, so we can
project
and we can feel like what it is to be a parrot.
Yeah.
What it is like to be a fish.
Yes, similarly we can
wade through the waters.
Exactly.
So now the third question he asks is, can you think of a stone?
Yeah, it's hard.
You can think of a stone, but you feel
like a stone.
But what can you feel like what it is to be a stone? So now if I give this reversible boost, so still, can you feel it? What it is like to be a stone?
Yeah, intellectually people may write poetry around it, but that feeling is very tough. I mean,
but it is non-existent.
It's non-existent. They're very nicely put. Yeah.
Yes, we can think about it. We can measure its dimensions. We can measure its hardness, but those are all material parameters. But then the feeling what a stone feels, that is because it doesn't have feeling.
Yeah.
So that's where Nagel says that living forms, life forms, are categorically different from matter, and the one thing which stands them out is feelings and emotions. Or in the ancient Vedic philosophy, it is called rasa. And there's this aphorism in Taittiriya Upanishad, raso vaisaha. The absolute truth is personified rasa, personified feeling and emotion, and we are all amshas of that amshi, and we therefore have an image reflection of those rasas in us. So that's what I wanted to just
fantastic
show him.
This is good, and I think that brings me to this question. I believe it's the central now here, and we have talked about programming the data, which is matter, and generating layers of algorithms over it to do some predictive ability. That's AI systems. And we are claiming that AI systems will generally not be able to match the sophistications of emotional intelligence which humans have. But I think there should be something more. What makes a real dog really real as compared to a robotic dog? I feel there's also one more dimension, more than emotions. Just like the stone thing, right? So one is that मैं आलती पालती मार के ऐसे ओकड़ू बैठ जाऊं, वो जो बैठते हैं ना, और ऐसे बैठ जाऊं और अपने आप को स्टोन मान लो, फिर मैं बहुत चीज एक्सपीरियंस कर सकता हूँ. फिर वो मेरे ऊपर पानी गिर रहा है बॉम्बे की बरसात में, या फिर मॉस यहाँ से उग रहा है. But what happened? I created a comic of myself by becoming a stone. That's not what was your question. Your stone was, can you be like a stone and then feel it? So I think we are talking of a certain other entity which is different from emotions. Because you say, right, I am aware of emotions. I am aware of their emotions. So is there something more?
So we are coming closer to life now. Maybe closest to life. there's this question that we can ask. So when I say in English grammar, I say my hand, right? Do I say I hand?
Yeah.
No,
there is a separate, clear separation. Yeah.
Distinction between me and my hand.
Yes.
Between me and my eyes, me and my nose,
correct.
Right? And so similarly, me and my body.
Correct.
So I see myself as separate and distinct from my body, right? Because the body is transient, and again, the Gita also brings this to light.
I'm aware of this verse. Yes.
Kaumaram yoganam jara tatha dehantara prapti dhiras tatra namuyati. That just as we had a body in our childhood, and then in our youthhood, we have a very different body in terms of shape, size, the cells. Every 7 years, all the cells change. So it is a completely different body, but I identify as the same person. It is not that they have changed.
Yeah.
So the Gita says that there's something which is constant beyond the change of the body. So I say my body and not I body. The I who owns the body possesses the body as just as I possess my clothes. I don't say I clothes, although we say iPhone, but still it is my iPhone.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So similarly,
even though they tried to create an illusion, but we are beyond the illusion.
Yes, I'm not the iPhone. So similarly, drawing it further,
yes.
Again, the Gita also says, Bhumi Apo Analo Vayu Kham Mano Buddhi Revacha Ahankara Ityam Me Bhinna Prakriti Ashtada. So there's the gross body, and then there's the subtle body. The subtle body is called Man, Buddhi, and Ahankar. The mind, the intelligence, and the ego.
Yes.
So the gross body is constituted of the 5 physical elements. The subtle body is constituted of the 3 metaphysical elements.
And hence all our emotions lie in there.
They are emotions. And therefore, the way I say my body, I also say my emotions.
My sadness.
My sadness, my anger, my joys.
My desire, my aspiration.
Your sorrows or my sorrows. So we see a distinction between, like intuitively we can see there's a distinction between my transient emotions, just as the body is transient across the different ages and stages of our life. The emotions are also transient. I am feeling sad today, but my feeling is sadness, but it may be different tomorrow. I may be happy tomorrow. So my emotions are also a possession, which can be changed and influenced, and that's a good thing for us.
And eureka, that's what explains why I can feel, why I can project the power of that I-ness as the, instead of I-ness in the role of Himanshu, I transformed it to I-ness in the role of a parrot, because that I-ness is different, right? So I can go across the system, change the system and feel it. And that's the cause of empathy also, right? We sit in others' shoes. I mean, they're not shoes, but somebody else's mind, which means I got a bit different from his mind and better be different from my mind. Then only I can sit, right? Yeah, this is a eureka thing. So how do you define, how does that I-ness sort of basically defined in Gita? Is it like a completely different unit? Like sometimes science says that, oh, the I-ness or the consciousness is just an epiphenomenon of our nervous system. In nervous system, some chemicals are jumping here and there. So, aisa kuch hawa udi hai. Hawa, that sort of general overarching feeling is the I-ness. That's one model. What does the model of Gita say?
Okay, so I'm reminded of the verse in the 13th chapter of the Gita, which speaks about that just as one sun out there in the sky illuminates the entire sky, right? So when that sun is there, everything in the sky is radiant. So similarly, Krishna says in the Gita that there's one soul, the Atman, the Atma, which is sitting there in the heart and in the sky of the heart, and that's radiating consciousness all over the body. all throughout the body, just as the sun's rays percolate to every strata of the ether. So this consciousness rays, they emanate from the soul, the Atman, and they reach to each and every limb of our body. So whatever, so Gita talks of the concept of Kshetra and Kshetragya. So Kshetra is a field of knowledge and Kshetragya is the knower of the field. So the field is different from the knower of the field.
So that field includes the mind field and the body
mind,
field.
The body and the gross and subtle bodies, the 5 gross elements and the 3 subtle elements, Man, Buddhi, Ahankar. So we are basically having the knowledge, awareness of those fields. And therefore there's a categorically different entity.
I think this is I have come across this earlier in my study of different traditions, but I think nowhere other than in the world religious traditions. For example, in Christianity, I think body and that soul is sort of kind of a combined entity. And that's why there's not much talk of reincarnation. But I think what you're talking about is a separate entity, not an epiphenomenon, not like a combined sort of thing. And this is very hope-giving, because then what will happen? We really cannot judge somebody else based on their body or on their mental situation, because, well, they exactly, quote unquote, are not the body and mind. I am also not my body and mind. So first of all, I can be compassionate to myself.
Exactly, that's beautiful.
Okay, I should not beat myself. I got angry. Anger has come, this too shall pass. And I can be compassionate to others also. If their mental body, we are naturally compassionate if somebody breaks their leg. But sometimes when we are living with somebody, or we are interacting as a society with some other section of the society, we label them as monolithic entities just represented by their particular mental situation.
We label them, right?
We label them.
There was a nice exercise which I was part of. It was done in the monastery. What was done is a very interesting thing which was done. We took labels, and this person is very grudging. And put a grudging label on someone's head. Then take a label of jolly, happy-go-lucky. Put that label on someone's head. And then we were asked to stay for 1 day together with the labels
You
on.
literally did that?
Yes. So
I mean, even when you were doing your whatever you do in the...
So we were in a retreat, so to speak. And so we had these labels all through the day. And
what was your label?
Grudging.
You are so compassionate. You took the sort of the worst sort of thing on you.
Whatever was given you. So then, and it was a chit box.
Chit box. Okay, like a random draw.
Random draw. Okay. So you get whatever destiny it is.
This is something new. I didn't know.
So when we put up those labels, at the end of the day, consciously or unconsciously, we started looking at those people in that light and judging them, labeling them, literally.
And I think even if the label was removed, perhaps it stayed.
It stays on.
This is super interesting. I think this can already spin off in another direction. And that's what we do. All the racism, colorism, sexism, speciesism, countryism, and 20,000 other isms. We are born because we label people. We create prejudice.
Blacks are like this, whites are like this.
We box people, basically. So I think not only sort of this Gita model of spiritual intelligence, which means being situated in the consciousness, lying above emotional intelligence, that lying above the material intelligence. This model can not only help us to become fearless and kind of apprehension less, not insecure, that this modeling cannot happen in AI system. They will at best have sophisticated material intelligence and some layer of programmed emotional intelligence, but they cannot have the entire nuanced emotional intelligence and absolutely nothing of spiritual intelligence. So this is like, as you know, what happens in novels and movies. In the end, humans win. Like poor Chitti guy is dismantled at the end of and the movie and things like that, and so many novels. It always happens that humans triumph. Why? Because in the gut we believe that humans are unique things. And secondly, not only this removes the fear, but it also creates a prejudiceless society, this model. So I think that's a bonus.
It will be so beautiful and wonderful to
Maskless society, prejudice society.
And as you was very wonderfully, maybe you are giving us a condensed essence of the discussion that we had, that we can wield the power of AI, artificial intelligence,
Perfect.
when we know that we have we are using AI.
Yes, not being used by
Not
it,
being used by it,
not being trolled by it.
not told by it. And also we know that we have capabilities superior to just raw manipulation of data. So we have layers of existence which are beyond and more profound and meaningful than this raw manipulation of data, which machines can do. But then we have these emotions which are very subtle and refined aspects of our being. And then we have the spiritual identity as a soul, which keeps us a unique person, right? So when we have awareness of this understanding of emotional and spiritual intelligence, then we can we say that we will be able to use AI constructively?
Yes, always. Technology, it's like double-edged sword. A scalpel in the hands of a surgeon can be used nicely, and in the hand of a terrorist can be misused. So I believe certainly there is a scope of managing the technology. And then we'll also realize how much technology we need. I mean, should we keep on progressing it so much that we kind of choke ourselves only? I didn't mention one thing. People are really not concerned, really not thinking about the greenhouse effects. Artificial intelligence uses a lot of parameters. So a lot of number crunching is happening. Same thing is happening with
billions of parameters.
Billions, trillions would also happen. And blockchains also. So they need big data centers. They put data centers somewhere, in hectares and things like that. And just the amount of heat which it generates. So nobody is worrying about the environment. It's the same thing when smoking came in 1967 or 1960s. People didn't worry about it. It took 30 years to prove that it causes cancer. So should we wait for like 30, 40 years to, by the way, AI caused like few more holes to happen in the ozone layer. So should we wait for that, or should we be, actually there's a big concern called greener AI. There is a certain section of society working on it.
And there is so much of competition that Google is starting its own AI, OpenAI, Microsoft is backing, and now Elon Musk has jumped into the fray with the Truth AI. So I think we need to use this technology judiciously, and only as much as needed.
And then we must come up with a conscious AI.
Oh. And I guess one thing which you mentioned during your presentation was that sometimes machines are learning, but humans are hooked. They are just hooked to the screens, and we are not using what is our inherent strengths, such as emotions and spiritual pursuits. And so we are also becoming like machines. And there's a saying that an original is always worth more than a copy. So there is some uniqueness, there's some flair about being original.
Perfect.
So the more we can be original humans, the original hapus will always be selling, or the organic one will always sell higher, and it will be always healthier.
Yeah, and the plastic ones will break your teeth.
So I guess we have come to a good conclusion.
And I'm very happy. A lot of things came out, and it enriched my understanding. Hope so.
Same here.
And maybe now, I think it's 12:05. So I don't know how we are running on the time. We can ask for questions, or how Madhviji and Ravikantji you want to.
Yes, definitely. If people are interested, they can raise their hand and we'll allow them to ask questions. We'll take hardly 5 or 6 questions.
Okay.
and then we'll wind up. Huh? So, Madhvi madam, are you there? Madhvi Narsa, yeah, there is already two hands are up. People are very much interested to ask questions. So, okay, we'll go to the Harish. Harish Achar, you unmute yourself and ask, and then Pradeep will ask question. Okay, and then Ramakrishnan. Okay, three people are raised their hands. So I'll give first opportunity to Harish, Pradeep, then Ramakrishnan. Harish, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much for enlightening us with your valuable knowledge about various kinds of intelligence, including artificial and the quotients. Thank you very much. When you asked to imagine ourselves as a stone, so that reminded me one incident from Ramayana. We all must be knowing about the character of Ahalya turning into stone for several years, or by the time Ram comes. So can we think of something like this in that?
Yeah. So nicely you brought up the point, Harish ji. Like I see your name as Pradeep here on the screen.
No, Harish is somebody else.
Okay, okay. Oh, Pradeep ji. So, yeah. Basically, if the point which Nagel was making in this paper was that that if you don't have a particular sense perception, you cannot really feel what it feels like to be that particular object. So basically, he was talking about what does it feel like to be a bat. So there he says that bats they cannot see. But they can echolocate. Echolocate means they send sound waves, and those retracting sound waves, they are able to figure out the contours and the surfaces. And that's how they navigate. So he says that now as humans, if we think of being bats, we can think of flying in the sky, right? We have experience of flying through airplanes. We have experience of flying. But can we think of echolocating this? Closing your eyes, you cannot see anything, but you are getting signals from sound. We don't have any experience of getting signals in our ears about distance, right? So he says we cannot feel like what it is like to be a bat based on echolocation, because that particular experience we don't have. So he brings it down to a stone. A stone has neither sight, cannot see, cannot hear, cannot feel, touch. All of those are absent in that, and therefore it says that matter, it's basically matter and life form are very categorically different of kind of categories. Now about Ahalya, so there was a particular curse which was given, and she was kind of made to take the form of a stone and
form of a stone, not a stone.
Yes. Form of a stone and her spirit residing there.
Yes.
So we have heard of ghosts who don't have the gross body, but they have a subtle body. So the subtle body and the soul resides in that stone. And when Lord Ram comes and puts his, touches his lotus feet, then that she again revives from that stone back into her original form as a human.
Actually, Harishji, very nice comparison. And although the situation is a little bit different here, because she didn't become a stone, she became like a stone. The form of the stone, but she was fully conscious. She was waiting for Ram. Right? So in that case, she felt not like a stone. She was still a human, a great lady. Just that the activities were curtailed and she had to wait. She had to just meditate. All her activities were, you can say, in the mind then. The external activities were reduced. So some feel what it means to be like a stone, she must have felt. Yeah.
And there are many other instances in the Puranas about a curse. For example, Nalakuber and Manigiri, they were cursed by Narad Muni to become trees because they had become so intoxicated by their wealth and power that so that they disrespected
I see.
saintly people. So therefore, they became trees. And then when Krishna touched them,
Okay.
then they were liberated from that tree confinement.
Tree confined. That is the right way of putting it. Okay.
Does that answer?
Thank you very much for enlightening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ji.
We can take Pradeep ji next.
बराबर, ठीक है, ठीक है.
Yeah, am I audible, sir?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Dr. Himanshu, sir, and Rasik Raman ji. Very insightful discussion. I have a quick, what hit my mind, I thought I'll just share, and then I have a question.
And we don't want only questions, we want reflections also. That will enrich us.
Okay, so the reflection, the point you mentioned about that we are becoming like a machine, and I see very live example of that. A very common, simple example everywhere, whether it's a family, professional life, student life. You see a WhatsApp right today. Today, if there's a birthday, there's an anniversary. Instead of calling people, letters have gone. Instead of calling people, now the WhatsApp message is replacing us, right? We also understand from the scripture, as Rasika Ramanji said, spiritual intelligence, emotional intelligence, AI can't replace them, right? But but being a slave of these AI today, and ChatGPT an example, we are moving towards that. At the end of the winner will be SI and AI, not AI. We understand that. So that's a realization and very insightful for me when I discuss with the students in the colleges. But the question I have is, have you come across any a package solution of spiritual wisdom and a technology where we are giving a higher taste to the students, where we are making them detoxifying from the social networking and digital? Have you come across that? And I would be willing to know that and stay connected to see if I can contribute in any way. Thank you.
He wrote a whole book about that, so I think he can rightfully speak.
Thank you, Pradeep ji, for those
Very
beautiful reflections, very encouraging. And somehow this discussion, the way
It's becoming very enriching, actually,
for
both of us, and maybe it was better if we did an in person.
So next question is by Ramakrishnan.
Let us complete to Pradeep ji's query. So this was exactly the thought behind my endeavor for last 2-3 years. So just 2021, I came up with this book. It is called Be the Smarter You. So the phones this is an age of smartness, smartphones, smart watches, smart cars, smart cities, smart homes. But the people using them, they are losing that smartness. And that's not good. So just as smartphones have smart apps, smart people should have smart life apps. You have a weather app, for knowing what is the weather condition, what will be the prediction of weather. But do we have a weather app to know our internal weather?
Must.
So otherwise, suddenly there's a cloud burst. We are going through something and there's a cloud burst of emotion, and then we spoil the whole mood of others also.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of smart apps which we might benefit if we install. So this book has 14 life apps. I call them life apps, such as discipline, habits, trust, forgiveness, emotional intelligence. 2 is one of the apps, and life compass, self-discovery, motivation, etc.
This is where I think, Pradeep, maybe some of your students can also. I enjoyed reading it. I mean, I was involved with the soundboarding with Rasik ji, and it has beautiful.
And by the way, I would like to thank Dr. Himanshu that he had given me the idea of this cover.
I mean, once we were discussing on lunch, and I said, "Yeah, let's make it like a phone."
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
So Ramakrishnan, the next question. We'll take 2 more questions because of paucity of time.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah, Mr. Ramakrishnan.
Yeah, this is Ramakrishnan. Am I being heard?
Mute.
Am I being heard?
Maybe we can take the other one then.
Hello, am I being heard clearly?
Yes, we can.
Yeah,
Hello.
Yes, ask your question.
Okay. So I'm sorry, just as about to ask questions to you, I stay adjacent to a temple and they have played some loud music. I hope the background music doesn't disturb. Is that clear relatively? Am I audible?
Yes. Please ask your question.
Now, I was so overwhelmed by the two experts who presented the two sides of the AI. Actually, I got more terrified by the negative sides, and my feedback will be more in the nature of some of the concerns that has been already raised. I think we should realize that technology is a terrible master and a wonderful slave. And we have to be very careful where you employ AI, because AI, I think, can be used in repetitive tasks, or maybe that requires a vast processing of vast data, like in legal professions or predictive medical technology and all that. But then I think we have to be careful that we are not being spied by our enemies. For example, AI can be used to track our behavioral patterns by our enemies, and our life is in control of somebody else. So we should ensure that we don't get into that situation. So I think who develops these algorithms, who controls that power in the new geopolitical space is very important. And the government of India, I think, need to think along those lines, that we don't give away the power of these algorithms to somebody else. We may develop algorithms as Indian software engineers, were very good in that. But then if we are working for company XYZ of some other country, we have to realize that they are actually owning that power of the algorithms.
Very well said.
Yes.
Number one. Number two is that I think AI cannot replace, I think the two eminent speakers have rightly said, it can in no way replace the emotional or the spiritual quotient. And definitely there is a scope for out-of-box thinking. So many of us need not fear, unless you're doing repeatedly the same monotonous task, that we have to start getting creative. That means we have to keep learning new things in life. Otherwise, soon the likes of the AI tools and other automation will displace you from your jobs. And last but not the least, I wanted to bring one episode. I think we talked about the Ahalya stone, and we are saying that the stone has just a matter. Actually, it is not true. In our Puranas, there is a story of Hanuman playing the veena, the Samaveda Gana, in the Ratantra veena, and the stones shed tears. So let us not think that the stone has no consciousness, maybe a very low level of consciousnness. We may not be able to feel like a stone, but surely there is an element of chit in them. And that's all I want to end my feedback. And thank you both the eminent speakers. You really enlightened all of us. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So the next question is by Virendra Egbote and then Anvaya Sardesai, and then we will end. Yeah. Any response?
One response on this, what Krishnan said. So basically, I was quoting from this paper by Thomas Nagelji. And it was just meant for us as an analogy. Yeah. So an analogy is meant to understand a particular point, and it's like a rubber band. If you stretch the rubber band too much, then it breaks. So that's the limitation. But as you said, in our tradition, even the rivers, they are personified forms. Even the mountains,
right,
personified forms. Yes. So they are a different category altogether. But yeah, you are true. You're right. And then I really appreciated the different points about geopolitical control of these technologies. We should be very judicious who uses them, and they should not. And it's a good technology is a
terrible master and a wonderful slave. Or a servant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next question is by Virendra Egbote.
Okay. Hare Krishna Prabhu. So my question regarding artificial intelligence is that Krishna showed his universal form to Arjun. Then there are a many things in the Vedic literatures that humans are not able to see, but the gods are able to do, means like superhuman acts. So all these acts come under artificial intelligence, means the Vedic literatures have such things that we humans cannot do, but gods can do it, like demigods. So are those like Vedic literatures, what is mentioned is all artificial intelligence, means those we cannot do?
No, that's not artificial intelligence. That's real intelligence of humans and gods. Way, way, way more sophisticated, as we already said, as compared to machines. But they also had artificial intelligence if you really want to stretch. I mean, they had all these Vimanas and other things. They had Maya Danav and Vishwakarma. They also sort of had machines which were performing sophisticated tasks. So if you want to stretch that new age AI technology to the Puranic AI, maybe you can. But yeah, what gods displayed, I believe that's their, they are evolved beings. So they have their
So
own.
these evolved beings, they have something called siddhis, which in the yogic plane is superhuman capabilities
Of manipulating matter even subtly, right?
subtly.
Yeah.
So you can become lighter than cotton,
Yeah.
heavier than a mountain. So prapti siddhi, all of
Very
these.
nicely put. So I think if we take matter as like, okay, periodic, Mendeleev's periodic table, all the elements. If you can manipulate them, that is AI.
Mhm.
But what yogis are able to do are not only manipulate the periodic table elements, but also air. I mean, even the subtler elements, fire, air, mind. So, yeah, I think in that case, you can say they had much more intelligence. Yeah.
The
So,
siddhis.
So-
last question.
Yeah, last question by Anvaya Sardesai.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes, thank you very much for this insightful discussion. I just had a concern because what I understood was that the artificial intelligence cannot do ever whatever the emotional intelligence and whatever the spiritual intelligence can do. Is that right? And now when I think like I think everything is being reduced to machines, in the sense of even man is being I mean, even places, when you go to different places, Pune or I don't know, Kolhapur or any other place out of Maharashtra also, you find these mall culture which has replaced everything. And everything there, what you get, what you eat, what you do, what the younger generation also can do, is all sort of, everybody is being made one, and it's being made like I call it a machine, like everybody is made to think alike, eat alike, do things alike, etc. So where would this spiritual and emotional intelligence play a part? Because if man itself is made to think in that particular way, and we are falling for it even through artificial intelligence, whatever is being done by the scientists, the world is going that way, then where would be the space for even wanting to have any emotion? The people may not realize that they have to have any emotion at all, and so they may go the artificial intelligence way and may have everything but would be machines, is my concern. So would you please be able to say something on this?
So very well said, Anvayaji. And this is the crisis of our times. But crisis is too precious to waste, as Winston Churchill said. Crisis has in its womb a discovery of a new fascination and a new contribution. So maybe it's the time to rekindle our interest in human creativity. That we are special beings. How can this crisis sabotage us? Viktor Frankl in Auschwitz camp was at the brink of a crisis from which he couldn't have returned back, right? We all know about that book, Man's Search for Meaning. But World War II, but he discovered a new therapy. And Auschwitz is a painful history, but Jews have come a long way. They have utilized that crisis to do something wonderful. So this crisis, which you rightly pointed out, in fact, in Seattle, where I spent some time, there are like these big grocery shops which are unmanned. There are no humans there. So you walk in, you grab something, the camera will take your picture, figure out who you are, and then take out money from your wallet and things like that. So no human interface then, only the subjis and you. So slowly, then things will become automated. The nurses may become automated, whatever. I mean, we can think about, the new sci-fi thing. So it is indeed a crisis. crisis at a very individual level also, that we have stopped relating with others as empathic human beings, and at a social level where we feel the vibes from the society as very impersonal. So I think then all of us have to take up that challenge. First of all, individual level, that we become personal, highly personal in our treatment to others. And then second, invoke, we unleash the power of creativity. Because when we unleash the power of creativity, which all of us have, some can dance, some can write, some can do so many things, then what will happen? It will empower us to kind of disarm those vibes which are coming. And then I think automatically we look back and see, oh, that was a good time, because the crisis kind of helped ourselves to renew ourselves. It happens in all religions. Reformation happens in all religions. All societies go through reformation. Maybe maybe AI is good in that sense. It is asking us to wake up from our slumber. So
right in our face, that you should realize that you have something more special and more profound than just monotonous, automatic, kind of functions. So we are something more profound than that, and this is a reminder, wake-up call. And this crisis, I like to put it in this way, that we in the society today, the emotions are smiley deep. We just put some smiley and we forget about it. Our experiences are selfie deep. We just go to a beautiful mountain and just click some selfies. Now, when we didn't ourselves experience the mountain view, the sun, the breath, the air, the fresh air, but we were so kind of eager to just take a selfie so that we can give that experience to others.
How can they experience it?
But without us in the first place. So experiences are selfie deep, emotions are smiley deep, and relationships are screen deep. So I have 5,000 friends on Facebook, but not even one in my neighborhood. So therefore, this is a crisis which should awaken all of us. And and you also mentioned that we are kind of losing that ability for being unique, and like we are all just doing the same thing, and it is pervading through all aspects of our life. Even the way we are doing agriculture, it's so boxed in the sense that there are machines. You are not having a contact with nature. We are talking about being personal with each other, but we also need to be personal with the nature, with the mother nature. And there have been umpteen studies done which show that mother nature, the trees, the life forms, they are also sentient. If you play a particular sattvic music or a devotional music to a particular crop area, they respond much better. They have much lesser incidence of pest attack. So let's be personal with each other and personal with nature
and with ourselves also.
Personal with ourselves, and all of that can come when we have the personal connection with the Supreme, who is the orchestrator of everything. And as I quoted, Mamaiva Amsha Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, we are all personal parts and parcels of that same one God. If we have to look for that unity, we have to look at it there, not kind of make ourselves as robots, right? And we come to this platform where Brahmani Gavi Hastine Shuni Cheva Swapakeja Pandita Samadarshana. When we see that we are all sparks of that same God, wherever we are, whatever color we are, whichever country, region, religion we are from, it's the same God. We call it through different names. Just as I may speak Hindi, someone else speaks Chinese, someone else speaks Italian, someone else speaks France, but they are all referring to the same sun. So when we know that we are all sparks of the same God, then there's empathy between each one of us. There's brotherhood. And Krishna says, Atma Pammena Sarvatra. That seeing that we are parts of the same spiritual source is empathy and love. So it's great time, and we are getting enlivened by all of your inputs to really work together to turn the tables and do something wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And just as the Kathopanishad says, Uttishtata Jagrata, Prapya Varan Nibodhata. So our speakers have actually asked us to unleash the power of creativity, and which will surely not be replaced by AI. So on behalf of the Center for Hindu Studies, I thank Dr. Himanshu Asani ji and Rasik Raman Das ji for an engaging talk and ringing the warning bell for us that we have to actually explore ourselves. And something which Rasik Ramanji, you said that we may have 5,000 friends on Facebook, but not one in the neighborhood. Was actually a warning bell for all of us that we should not be addicted to it. So see, when computers were introduced in India, there was a big uproar which said that it will lose jobs. People will lose jobs, but it opened a new vista.
Exactly.
So similarly, AI will also, I feel, will open a new vista for our people instead of creating a very scary picture. So with this, I thank both of you for such an engaging talk. And we have almost we had 100 participants in this in this talk. So I thank the audience also. I also extend my thanks to the University Computer Center for providing us the Zoom platform in spite of this being a bank holiday. So thank you all of you, and we will stay in touch, and we will expect more and more inputs and lectures from both of you. So thank you one and all.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Extremely insightful, delicious, and relishing lecture. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Someone is asking the name of the book. So it is called Be the Smarter You. Here it is. It is published by Simon Schuster's. And I'm also doing a weekly podcast if some of you would like to join. It's called the Gita for You podcast every Saturday, 7 to 8 p.m. So where we bring out nuggets, wisdom nuggets from the Gita for our daily life. So that time it was Arjuna's questions to Krishna. Now it's our questions which are answered to Gita in that podcast. So you can all join us for that podcast too. Every Saturday, 7 to 8.
Sure.
We'll
Okay.
share.
Thank you very much. We'll end the meeting now.
Yes.